Hello. Today I'd like to bring up a word of caution to newbies as they're getting ready to set up their saltwater tanks and they start shopping around and looking for lighting. The lights that I'm going to caution and warn you against from a value perspective are the current USA lights. Now, please don't get me wrong. For a fish only tank or for freshwater tanks, current USA makes some decent, respectable lights. However, for people who are really wanting to get into corals, or even some anemones, that require the bright lighting or whatever, they're really a terrible value for the money. And hear me out. I'm going to go ahead and kind of cover my reasoning and logic on this. The current USA lights tend to lure in a lot of people because they're light bars. They have the extendable brackets on them. They have the remotes. They're very programmable. They're not expensive, so they're very appealing to a lot of folks who are just getting into the hobby, who are taking a look at them and going, oh wow, I can get this light and it'll have this much coverage and give me these programming features or whatever, and it says it'll grow corals and everything else. Well, quite honestly, these lights. The problem with them is just they're very weak. Okay, and there are three different variants on them. There's your standard current USA Orbit Marines, which are the bottom of the line. These things, anything beyond fish only, I wouldn't recommend with these lights. Yeah, there's some folks who claim to grow soft corals and some easier LPS with them, but in terms of consistent growth, getting things to not be hit and miss with them and everything, it's a heck of a gamble. And the thing to remember is, if you have corals that aren't doing well, or worse, start dying off on you because they're not getting the lighting that they need, any money you may have saved to purchase those lights gets thrown down or flushed down the drain, goes straight down the toilet because coral frags aren't cheap. Even the cheapest softies out there, they still add up if you lose several of them. So, anyways, the other one that's next in line is the IC loop, which basically it's taking the Orbit Marine, but giving it some more programming features, Bluetooth connectivity, and things like that. Then you also have your IC Pro, which is kind of their high-end lighting, which is basically it's taking the same light, but it's adding an additional light bar, so you're getting two light bars, so it's more powerful. But the problem is that despite all these different variances there, and and the cool, nifty looking programming features and everything else, the lights themselves are very, very weak. They only put out about 32 watts, as I recall, and all you need to do, and I challenge you to do this, go watch a video, or even if you get a chance to compare them somewhere, at a local fish store or whatever it might be, go take a look at them, and then go take a look at something, say, like a Chinese black box light, like a Viper Spectra, Mars Aqua, or something like that, and tell me you cannot visibly see the difference where the current USA lights, regardless of which one you get, looks visibly dimmer, duller by comparison to these other lights that are actually either the same price or less money, depending on which option you're looking at. And there are other options out there. Ocean Revive makes some good lights. Their Arctic T247B. You've got some of the Reef breeders, and a bunch of other options that are out there that are within the price range of some of these current Orbits, or even up to the IC Pro line, and they're comparably priced, but they're just much better lights, much more powerful, much better at growing a wide range of corals and doing it consistently, instead of just, oh, okay, this coral's growing okay over here. Well, this one's not doing so hot. Well, this one's growing okay over here. Well, this one's not doing so hot. That's the problem with cheap lighting, is that they're so hit and miss. It's not that they can't grow corals, it's the fact that they are really hit and miss with how they actually produce results. So, when you take a look at the current USA, a lot of newbies, I'll admit it, myself included, I looked into them. I was like, oh, what about these, And then after doing some more research on them and taking a look at demonstrations, examples of them, talking to the folks at my local fish store, I just found so many shortcomings with these lights. And just like I said, I was sitting there watching these lights, and they look dull, like garbage. They don't make the tank look good, if for no other reason. And so, no, I wouldn't trust them for coral growth. The current USA Orbit Marines are the cheap end, and usually they'll set you back, for the 18-inch light bar, they'll set you back, I don't know, about $120, I want to say. $100 to $120. And then going up to the 6-foot size, and there runs, I think, about $250. The IC loops, they get a little bit more expensive from there, and then the IC Pro, they start out at about a 36-inch light, start about $250 and run all the way up to $600 for the 72-inch light. To put this in perspective, the Viper Spectra, which is probably considered the best value of the Chinese black box lights, as opposed to the 32-watt lights that the current USA offers, they are 165 watts. So you're talking about a much more powerful light in terms of just, basic capabilities. No, they don't have the programming features. They're basically limited to a timer and 2-channel control. But they will grow softies, they will grow LPS, then they will grow SPS. No problems whatsoever. Those lights will do it. The same cannot be said for even the IC Pro line when we're talking about, some of the more demanding SPS corals. I wouldn't trust them. Maybe for softies and LPS on the IC Pros, but still, once again, when you take a look at that, the Viper Spectra boxes cover about a 24-inch spread each. So you get 3 of them for, say, a 6-foot long tank. So we'll just use that as an example. 6-foot long tank. 3 of them will set you back about $360 combined. Okay? Now, that's assuming, once again, that their Amazon's not running a coupon on them, which they often do, for about $10 to $15 off. And then you could get them for somewhere between $340, $350 to light a 6-foot tank for basically any corals you want. Yes, you do sacrifice, some of those programming features, but ultimately, when you look at it, really, is it more important for you to be able to simulate a lightning storm, which, by the way, is a worthless feature, or does it make sense for you to have lights that cost half as much as, say, the IC Pro 72-inch light bar at over $600, but can completely outperform it in terms of coral growth, performance, and whatever, and still gives you a couple of basic features which at least make it, the light usable. You're not having to manually turn it on and off, or having to get a clumsy mechanical timer or anything like that for them, because they still have those features. So realistically, if you're looking at those, the current USA lights, okay, once again, freshwater, fish only lights, or planted lights, great. Fish, if you're looking for a cheap but programmable way of doing fish only, okay, but just be aware that you may not like the look and the results. For Reef, though, I would just say, just don't bother. Go with one of the many other options for lights that are out there. I was just using the Chinese black box as an example because they're a great bang for buck light. And even then, in some respects, I would say, when you're talking a 4 to 6 foot long tank, you could probably even get 2 to 3 AI primes and have much better results overall for roughly a similar cost to at least the IC Pro line. And it's got every programming feature that the IC Pro does, and is definitely a more powerful light. They've just got a lot better for coral growth and consistent growth. So anyways, it's just a matter of taking a look at options there. But yeah, once again, current USA lights, freshwater, maybe fish only. For reef or anemones or any of those other things, no. I would just say take your money elsewhere, get better lights, get stuff that's proven to grow corals, and you'll be a lot happier with the results. My local fish store, when I went and talked to them, they told me the exact same thing. He said, yeah, they look attractive on paper, he said, but virtually everybody who buys them ends up upgrading them beyond that, and so basically they end up throwing away a bunch of money on these current USAs, and then just to turn around and upgrade and get better lights anyways. So whereas if you went with one of the other options, you could just simply buy the lights and be perfectly fine, regardless of what you decide to put in there. And that's all I've got, and thanks for watching.